again? In this video we'll create our walking and jumping sprites using the same techniques from the idle animation video. We're going to take pieces of a robot and rotate them to get the necessary pose that we need to get our frames that we need for our animations. Alright, so we're going to start with the jump animation first. And for this jump animation I kind of want him to just crouch down maybe 3 or 4 frames. He's just going to go down, 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 and then the fourth frame, or the last frame I'm sorry, is going to be him just in the air. It's going to be whatever pose we think fit. We'll think of it when we get to it, because we're just going to, there's no set pose in mind. Alright, so let's get started with the jump animation. First frame. We got our colored pieces. Going to duplicate it. I'm going to untick this one, just so we keep it safe, just like I always have. Rename this one Jump 1. Alright, since he's crouching down, I'm going to take his head body and everything, basically everything on the upper half of him, he's going to crouch down. So we're going to bring it down like that. Alright, that's looking good. And since he's crouching down into a jump, he's going to be leaning forward just a bit. So we're going to rotate his body, bring that forward a little bit. Just a little, like 2 ticks, I think. Take his head, make sure that's positioned correct. Alright, that's looking good. Since everything's moving around, we're just going to have to put everything back into position. Includes his arm, or his right arm. Grab his left arm, put that there. Okay, so now everything, his top body is alright. Now we're just going to take his legs, and he's going to be bending at the knees a little bit since he's crouching down. So we're going to take the top of his leg. I'm going to start with the left leg first. And this is something I like to do. When you're going to rotate things, Photoshop gives you a little pivot point. You can rotate it like all nice and freely. But what I like to do, because if we were rotating it, we'd have to rotate like this and then move into position. So instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to press the Alt key, click on the pivot, and bring it up to here. So this will act as your joint now. You can rotate your piece around freely without having to move it into position, just like a regular leg works. Just rotates around a pivot point. Alright, so as he's crouching down, let me just get that back into original position. There we go. So as he's crouching down, his legs are going to bend just a little bit. Something about that's good. Do the same thing for the right leg. Okay, now we have to move the bottom of the legs into position. Might be a little bit of touch up, like these gaps that you see. Might have to touch them up a little bit. I'm just going to bring the right top leg down. But I mean, all touch up will happen at the end. It shouldn't be too much of a hassle. You always want to keep these legs on the same position. You never want to move them up, or you never want to move them down to fit with everything. You just want to keep them on the same path. That's why I always move them just left to right. Alright. So, actually I think just to connect a little bit like I did with the right top leg, I'm going to take the left top and bring it down just a tad. There we go. So touch-up's just going to be a little bit. It's not going to be like we're extending his leg too much. Alright, so that's looking good. Alright, so maybe, actually I just thought something. We're actually going to be rotating his arms too, because he's going to be bending his legs back in order to, or bending his arms back, right, I'm sorry, in order to push forward when he jumps. So we're going to take his right top arm, do the same thing. And this one illustrates the pivot point a little bit more just because we have this little joint right here. Bring that back. Rotate this a little bit so it'll be like he's bending his arms. And the same thing for the left arm. So there you go. He's kind of crouching down a little bit. His body's rotating. His knees are starting to bend. That one's looking good. So we're going to bring this up, duplicate it, bring it down here. We're going to no, we're actually going to leave that one up. We're going to rename this one Jump 2. We're going to leave the Jump 1 up for reference. Alright, so his body here, body and his head are going to go down just a little bit more. Something like that's pretty good. Then we're just going to take his body, rotate it, and move it forward just a little bit more because he's starting to crouch down a little bit more. And then the same thing as we did before, just move all these pieces into place. There are two pieces of the head, or there are two little stray pixels here. Just got rid of them. Move the arms into position. Whoops. Looks like I have a layers issue, so we're gonna grab both of his right legs and bring them just ahead of the leg, or just ahead of the head. That way the arm will pop up above the legs. Sorry, it's just a little layers issue. Alright, we're gonna take since we never want to move the bottoms of the legs, we're gonna take the tops of the legs and bring them down a little bit. Oh, and we gotta grab the left arm. Bring that into position as well. Alright, so we got this. Now it's just time to start rotating things and bending them at the knees. So we can start with his legs. Whoops, not his arms, his legs. Grab that. And here he's starting to crouch down a little bit more, so we're going to need him to bend a little bit more at the legs. So I rotated a little bit and then I brought it down just a little bit to bring it kind of into position. I'm going to bring this over here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the right leg. Rotate it, bring it to pivot. I mean, none of these rotations have to be too extravagant. We're not making a very exaggerated animation. It's just going to be simple and to the point. He's going to crouch down and then jump. So yeah, we're definitely going to need some touch up here. We're going to need to connect these legs. But that won't be too big of a problem. Actually, what we could do, because I don't like the position that I have his body. His body could go down a little bit more. He didn't go down that much height for the bend in his knees to look right. So let's grab the top, not his arm. Grab both tops of the legs, his body and his head. We're just going to take everything from above. So we'll grab all his arms, and then both the tops of his legs. And bring those down just a couple of ticks. There we go. That's much better. So now it looks like let's bring it up here. Yep, now it looks like he's bending down. His knee bend is looking a little bit more realistic. Actually, we might even be able to take the bottoms of the legs. Whoops. Sorry, I always get those confused. We'll be able to take the bottom of the legs, just bring those into position. So that way his legs don't go out that much. That's looking good. You can even do something as simple as rotate the head. Just a little bit. There we go, that's looking good. You're always going to hit Control S. You always want to save intermittently just in case. You never know what happens, or you never know what would happen. Alright, so our second jump frame is done. Looking good. I'm going to bring it up, duplicate it. Name this one jump 3. I think this will be the last one because I think his crouch is getting down pretty well. Alright, so we'll leave this one up just for a little bit of reference. So this one, he's at his apex. He's gonna, this is where he's gathering all his energy. Rotate his body a little bit more. His head will go down with it. Actually, then we're going to bring everything down just a little bit more. His arms, and then the tops of his legs. It's looking good. And then we're just going to do all the correction stuff that we need to do. I'm going to take his arms, bring them where they need to be. And his legs are obviously out of position, so we need to take those. I think his left top leg is out of position. His right leg is out of position. I'm going to bring that up just a little bit because as he was rotating here, his body was rotating, his pelvis went up a little bit, so his leg would be about right there. Alright. Now, I'm going to take these arms, I'm going to rotate these. These are going to be rotated by quite a big margin. Something like that's good. I'm going to do it for the left arm. This one's going to be so far back we're not even going to be able to see it. It's looking better. And then finally for the legs, we're going to start with the left leg. These just need to be rotated just a little bit more. Same with the right. It looks like we're going to need a lot of correction here, but it'll be all right. So as you can see here, he's starting here, crouched onto here, crouched onto there. That's looking good. This body here, I'll go there, and then now we're going to work on our last frame. We're going to do all the correction at the end. We're going to take our last frame, and that's going to be the one where he jumps. So this is his lowest point. This is where he's going to thrust forward and just jump into the air. And for his jump, we're just going to have one single frame. It's going to be him in the air. And this is where we can just do whatever we want. So this piece, I don't really want this mess, so I'm going to take my color pieces, the one we have saved just in case, duplicate that, and call it jump 4. So this is going to be completely different. That's why we're able to use a completely blank slate, technically, for the last frame for the jump. So okay, he's in the air. So let's see, what kind of pose do we want for this guy when he's in the air? So let's see, he's in the air, he just jumped forward. So his body's going to be rotated a little bit. Rotate a little bit back. Reverse where we had it before. Remove the head. Oh, those two little stray pixels again, just erase those. We can rotate his head. He'll be back in the air. Okay. So we have that. Let's see. Gonna move his arms into position. We could actually rotate his arms. In this piece, I'm just doing the arms as a single, and then we'll rotate them if need be at the end. Alright, that was the left. Let's go on to the right. So let's see, maybe it'll be fun. He's in the air, he's got both his arms outstretched like this. Maybe his legs are bent up in the air like this. Let's see how that looks. And then we can take his right leg, bring that into position. Then we'll take his left leg. He's in the air now, so now we don't have to keep the leg on the straight path like I was talking about before. He's in the air, so his legs are going to be up wherever you need them to be. This is entirely up to you. Let's see. You want his legs to be a little bit extravagantly bent. Maybe not that extravagantly bent. Looks good. Alright, then we can take our right leg. Always with the pivot points. Maybe we'll swing his left arm out a little bit. I don't like how it's touching there. Actually, the arms themselves just look a little flat. Maybe they need a little rotation. So okay, we could take our arms here and bend them. Right, so let's see what we got. Right, so he's going from here to here to here, and then pop, he's in the air. This actually still looks like he's on the ground with his leg being right there. So let's actually rotate his leg again. It's all about the little things. It's always about finding little things and tweaking until you get it right. Right, then we should bend that arm. Maybe something like that. That's cool. So he's kind of jumping forward. I like that. Alright, so now that we got our little guys, we're going to have to start to touch up. I'm going to touch up all the little tiny parts that we missed. But first, you hit C, bring up the crop tool. Remember to bring all of your animations. We did this before. Bring up all of the frames. Right now we only have 4. A little tiny animation. We'll bring it to our widest point. So needs to be right there. Enter. And then to our tallest point. Hit enter. Alright, so that is our frame size. That looks nice. I like that. Okay, so to make it easier on ourselves to color correct, instead of having all these layers to mess up, we're just going to hit Control E on each one of our groups, make them our individual frames like we did before with the idle. And then we're just going to take our brush. Let me actually grab a regular brush. Alright, now we're just going to take a look at what needs fixing like this. That's probably the worst noise in the history of anything. So we're just going to take this color, bring it around here, just connecting these so there's no gaps in between. That looks good. Alright, then we'll move on to the second one. This one probably needs a little bit more. Yep, right here. That looks good. Just a little bit of touch up for that frame. And this is the one where we need a little bit more touch up. Just a little bit more of a gap, but it's nothing too nothing too hard to fix. That little bit of extension on his leg won't matter that much. This one, let's see how this looks. That's a big extension. Oops. So I just saw a little bit of pixels here. Get rid of them. Make a tiny brush and get these border edges in there. Looks good. Alright, then for his jump, we actually need to do a little bit of the correction here. Whoops. Gotta select the right layer. Alright, we'll hit that. His legs are a little far out in his pelvic region there. We'll do a little bit of correction there. Alright, now that our color correction, let me just see. Let's take a look at this. I don't know if I like the way this one's coming out. It looks like his elbow's here and it's not covered up by his elbow part. Whoops. Grab the eraser, bring it down a little bit. So like that. All we're going to have to do is just have the elbow pad come out a little bit more. There we go. A little quick, simple fix. So that's looking good. Just one more final go through. Now I did see something I didn't like too much. That was this piece with his legs. I think I'm going to do here. Of course not. Just select the right layer. Let's see. A little bit of surgery here. It just looked a little too wavy. Not that it looked too long, just I didn't get the lines as straight as they could be. So we'll do something like this. So I got a little guideline for myself, and all I did for that was just hold shift. I clicked one part and hold shift where I want it to go, and it'll draw me a straight line. All I have to do is just color in the lines. Make sure we get that nice and even. Still looks a little wavy. Now I just saw it. This has a little bit of problems here. When you do this for a while, you start to have a little bit of an obsession with getting everything right. Just the little things can roll it off. The little things are what makes your piece as successful as you want it to be. That's how I can put it. Your dedication to it. Oh, I see the problem. This leg, the bottom of his leg needs to be a little bit further out for how it's rotated. That's going to be a problem. Looks good. It's just going to look like it has a curvy leg. It should be alright. It'll be fine, actually. It was just me being a little bit too nitpicky. A little bit too nitpicky on a video tutorial. Actually doesn't look too bad. Alright, so good. My nitpicking pays off. Alright, so we got all of our frames. One more time we could go through. What? He jumps in the air. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so what you want to do now is once you have everything done, color corrected, cropped, everything's looking good, remember that you have to go to File, go Scripts, you have to go to Export Layers to Files. I already have my path set up. Leave my prefix blank. File type PNG24, transparency on, trim layers off. I'm going to hit run. Let it do its thing. It's going to crunch all these pieces. Alright, it says it was successful. Alright, so since that was successful, we're going to check all the sprites at the very, very end just to see if they're all right. But I mean, we could see in the preview it looked all right. But so yeah, let's since we're done with the jump, we're going to get going on to the walk animation.